We have just finished a paper on the design economy in India and how to go about it, because it is so central to Make in India. Designing economy, unfortunately, in India is very limited. And we say this based on the data that we have from the World Intellectual Property Organization, which looks at the number of patents and industrial designs granted within each country, and looking at exactly what are the entities that are getting these patents and industrial designs within these different countries. So in terms of patent or design capacity, India is really just 3% of China and less than 2% of the US capacity, so it's really very low. If you consider industrial design, then India is less than 1% of China's and less than 6% of the US. So it's not just the magnitude of the design economy which is concerning, particularly because Make in India will, in the long run, very significantly depend on the design capacity. But it's also in terms of who are the entities that are getting this patents in India. More than 80% of all patents that are granted in India are really going to foreign firms. They're not going to Indian entities, which is a reflection of not just the existing capacity, but also over the long run, what is going to be the movement of design economy. We have just concluded this piece of research where we've compared India, US and China, looking at the data for the last 15 years, and the trends are very similar to the averages that I just presented. So what are the big recommendations in terms of how do we go about making fundamental changes? Well, the first thing is we are working with complete paucity of data. There is very little knowledge on what construes patents, what is patentable, what are the requirements, and we don't even know what are the industries and what are the emerging technologies that are likely to be patented within India. So we need a lot more data, and the government has to make investments into collecting data across different industries, from academia, from within the government departments itself, and collating it to give us a sense of what is the significance and the scope of this capacity right now. Beyond that, and another immediate measure that I think the government of India must undertake is capacity building within the Indian Patent Office itself. It's very important for our patent officers to understand what are the emerging technologies. How should we really be looking at the future of patents and the future of technologies within a global context? So we need to present a lot more cutting edge research. They need to be completely aware of how the global economy is moving in that sense. Then another thing is more clarity on the guidelines. For instance, even with Section 3K, which has become a central focus point of discussions recently, there is a lack of understanding on what are these guidelines, what kind of computer programs can really be patented, what kind of softwares can be patented, are all computer programs not patentable? So that kind of information should be out there in the market. It's also important to have positive examples. So the Patent Office should really go out and educate the industry about what kind of patents have been granted under the CRI or under other patent norms successfully, and therefore then incentivize more industries to go out and seek these kind of patents. More broadly, however, we have to make investments into infrastructure such as design labs, special economic zones that are mostly catering towards R&D in the country. Another area which tells us about the capacity in the long run is the status of R&D professionals within the country. If you look at the World Bank data, then we know that India has about 160 people in R&D, so R&D professionals for every million population. This is very, very less compared to even an emerging country like Brazil. Brazil has about 710 R&D professional every million population. China has about 900. The US, of course, has more than 4,000. So there is a huge discrepancy, even in terms of capacity for design moving forward. And this is, I think, the heart of this Design in India initiative. We really have to think very hard about how to create that collaboration between academia, industry and the government, and foster these collaborations which can lead to an environment where a lot more design capacity can actually lead to sustained growth in the long run.